Is a micro big bang launch a horizontal campaign or a vertical campaign? Good. It's horizontal, guys, right? So because horizontal is like we talked about, like this, and micro big bang is, 50 to 100 audiences on all in the same budget, all on $1.50, all across the board, right? And guys, what does audiences duplicated like this? What does micro big bang do? What does it do for us? Why are we doing micro big? Why don't we just go straight to guys? Why don't we just go straight to CBO and huge ABO budgets? Why don't we just jump the gun? Why don't we just go to ABO, put $1,000 budget on, call it a day? And why do micro big bang, guys? Like, why do this first? Why wait? Why wait? Why don't just scale instantly? Why not just scale to the moon? Why do we do micro big bang? Okay, so Jake says finds the pockets to scale. Correct. Because you got to have the ammo before you start shooting. Okay. Stacey says go where the food is. Damn right. Why do we call it the farm system? We're literally creating the food for the CBO. Okay, let's talk about micro big bang and what it does, guys. Okay, micro big bang, okay, is literally a 50 to 100 audiences on $1.50. Okay, and you guys, I've told you guys this story before of like Big Bang and like how it came to be. A really, really consistent brand, right? And it was doing very, very well. And I was going away on a vacation and I just didn't want to work. I didn't want to work. So before I went, I stayed up till like 7 o'clock in the morning. I remember this like it was yesterday in the Rutgers Academic Hall, right? Right after I won the Entrepreneurship Award, out of all 80,000 people there, I had 2 subscription box companies. I sold one of them and I had BSF back at the time as well. Then I dropped out of college, then did all that stuff. But at the time, I remember I wanted to go on vacation. I wanted to scale hard, but I didn't want to work. And I just wanted to see if I could do it. And I was just coming up with different systems and strategies based off what I already had, because I already had algorithmic. I already had a lot of the systems in place that I would utilize for my own businesses. And I'm like, okay, I want like a really, really big scale because we're getting amazing ROAS. And I wanted to have like a big budget increase the following day, but I didn't want to scale vertical. I wanted it to be horizontal. So I came up with Big Bang. And I stayed up till like 7 o'clock in the morning, literally getting it all set up, like creating it. And this was back in the day, guys, where like you had to do the custom audiences one by one. Like it took freaking forever. And I launched it. And I actually launched that as I like got done. I didn't launch it at midnight technically because like I was going on vacation that day and I just launched it on the spot. Right. And it still performed well. And I remember I was on a ferry going to Block Island. I don't know if anyone knows that island is a really cool island. I highly recommend it. I've been there once. And I was on the ferry and the ad campaign got approved. Like, okay. And like after it started to get approved, right? I was always running ABO, just normal traditional audiences with like single interest and like bigger budgets and like just like one interest, whatever, typical targeting. You start to get way bigger AOV orders because you're running like 100 different audiences at once, which means that you're looking at like so many different pockets at once that Facebook's algorithm is trying to find the best buyer possible across all these different audiences. And when a sale happens, that person is so optimal from your pixel that they're normally purchasing like 3-4 items a time. What I've never seen before is people buying like 3, 4, 5. With this Big Bang, not only was it getting sales more consistently over and over and over, I didn't have to touch anything. Like almost as soon as it got approved, like an hour after it got approved, it was like 3 units, 4 units, 5 units, like over and over again. It was so much higher quality buyers because it was built off of lookalikes and it was built off of tons of duplicated audiences outward. So I'm hitting so many different pockets at once, which is increasing the opportunity for me to hit higher quality individuals. That's how the Big Bang came to be, right? Then I'm like, let me try it on a lower budget micro. And what I found here is macro Big Bang increases the amount of like consistency in sales I'm getting and overall return. And micro is increasing the amount of like ROI from a ROAS perspective because it's so low budget that when you get a sale, the return is like 30 or 20, right? As ROAS, return on ad spend, which is insane. So that's ultimately how these came to be, right? And it's been so freaking consistent ever since. And it was a staple in terms of building consistency in an e-com store in this industry since 2016. So keep that in mind. Micro Big Bang, okay, is literally the past 180 days of data, okay, of your actual custom audiences, purchase, initiate, checkout, at the cart, review, contents, website visitors, emails, everything that you can possibly create custom audience-wise, you create, okay, and it's core 4. USA, Canada, Australia, UK, a lot of the time you'll have to do just US because you don't have enough of the data if you're brand new, which is fine. Okay, so you're just doing core 4 or just US. All these are lookalikes here, and each percent indicates a size of the population and pool of the audience. Okay, that's going to be depicted and taken from the data of your custom audiences. So what happens here is lookalike audiences is basically saying, hey, 1%, give me 1 to 2 million people who are exactly like the people who have purchased from me in the past 180 days, right? 2% saying, hey, give me 2 to 3 million people who are exactly like the people who have initiated checkout with me in the past 180 days. Facebook has such a powerful algorithm that you will literally get the most pinpoint buyers from your lookalikes. And this is why this is like where you break the ceiling of your consistencies. When you start to break through, you're running more audiences, you're more profitable, and it's just smarter campaigning, right? And what we do here is 1 to 5%, which means that every single custom audience, purchase, initiate, checkout, everything is getting a 1% audience, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, which means that every custom audience will yield 5 lookalikes for launch, okay? And that's how we rock with it. So we're gonna be getting around 50 to 100 audiences launched with Micro Big Bang. The only thing that dictates the difference is how many custom audiences you can create. With that being said, these are on a $1.50 budget. So what does this do to the pixel, guys? Having a $1.50 budget, before we jump into macro, $5 budget, what is having the Micro Big Bang on a $1.50 budget do for us? Correct. It's teaching the pixel to convert at a $1.50 budget consistently and consecutively, right? And also for someone like, let's say you have like $1,000 or $2,000 products, you can launch like 150 audiences on a $1.50, and you will be effing surprised at how frequently you get sales on a $1.50 budget. Okay, even on high ticket products, because you're running so many at once. But when you do get that sale, look at how freaking profitable it is, and it'll stay consistent. And that's like a hyperactive way to kind of hack profitability, right? When you have such a high margin, run micro budgeting, and you'll never really have to worry about going under, right? That's one of the real big hacks of running a really high ticket product, is just run a fat micro. When we're running our Micro Big Bang, we want to know when to start looking at the results. You're going to have a lot of audiences do well, and you're going to have a lot of audience do shit. Okay. And you have to realize that you got to really, audit them and watch them. Okay. So we like to run it for 8 days. And really, I like to go ahead and start moderating it by like day 5 to day 8. Okay. Because typically after day 5, it's spent almost as much or a little bit more than it would if it was on $5 for daily, etc. So we're running it for 5 to 8 days. Okay. We're going to be killing the ad sets starting from day 5 to day 8 that go below break even. Okay, and the goal is to keep slow cooking this campaign. We're not going to start duplicating instantly. We're going to keep this running long term. Keep in mind, guys, the goal is not to duplicate this over and over again. The goal is for this to give us consistency in our daily, day-to-day sales, so we could then go out on a limb later, launch the Big Bang, do the same thing, and then obviously eventually go towards CBO. So keep that in mind. Okay, so on day 5, we're going to start looking at our audiences, looking at the audiences that are below break-even ROAS, audiences that are below our KPI benchmarks, right? And we're going to start to kill the outliers. Okay. The outliers is what is getting killed, guys. That's highly important. Please write that down. On day 5 of Micro Big Bang to day 8, we're starting to kill the outliers, meaning the audiences that are just clearly off. They are not near our KPI benchmarks. And we have a bunch of audiences here, and we just see a ton of them down here, outlier performing awful. Okay. We're killing the outliers. And you know, when you see a dot graph, right? And then you have like the median, you have the average, and there's always like the median group in the middle. And then you have the outliers like over there and over here. You're removing the low performing outliers, not the high performing outliers. Now, also, let me show you with this, the difference between a great entrepreneur and a phenomenal entrepreneur. Okay. In a market like this is someone who knows when to kill. Okay. Knows when to keep on. Okay. That's a really, really big thing. Keep in mind, a lot of the biggest progression you'll have is in turning things off. Okay. So don't feel like, oh, I'm turning things off, I'm backtracking. No, that's in a lot of cases, you're forward tracking. Okay. What this is going to accomplish, just like Kira said, okay, this is going to train our pixels to convert consistently on a low budget. Our tactical brand that is about 3 years old, right? It's been running the same micro campaigns for like years, right? And we just refresh creatives every now and then, refresh the audience every now and then. It's the same thing. You guys know the recycling logo that has an arrow and everything goes back into one another, or the Walt Disney model, right? That kind of feeds everything. This is exactly that. Okay. This is exactly that. And this is what I want you guys to realize is whether you're just looking to build a dropshipping store and e-commerce here, or you're looking to go even further and further and deeper. Like for example, we have one of our clients who crushed it with his dropshipping business, and he took this whole system and used it to run ads to his Airbnb. And the guy is like doing crazy. So realize here that this is not just for doing physical product. This is for running ads and having an infrastructure. Okay. This is like actually having a strategy, right? And I will go out on a limb and say, this is one of the most impressive strategies that I've ever seen in the industry. Obviously I'm biased because I did it, but I genuinely believe it so, because I'm yet to see anything that's more consistent ever, to be frank, right? And this is like something that is just baseline. You have the model, you follow it verbatim. There's nothing to be, you're not guessing, right? So at this point is when you want to have like a reality check and be like, am I doing well? Am I making money? Am I doing 20 to 50% margins? And if the answer is like, yes, then yeah, you should absolutely be getting new creatives here. Keep in mind, ladies and gents, one of the best parts about freaking Micro Big Bang is how reusable it is. Okay, so let's say you use something and it's only used, you can only use it once. That sucks, right? Or you could go ahead and reuse it and get a refreshed result almost every time, right? Water bottle, right? So put water in, you can't notice the difference. Maybe it tastes a little bit different, right? But overall, it's doing the same thing, right? So that's a really good thing to realize here, guys, is Micro Big Bang is so replaceable and repeatable. So for example, like with the brand that we run, let's say after like, as you guys know, like I just said, it's like the same campaigns run for years. Let's say in a month, our Micro Big Bang goes to shit and we start just converting way lower. What we'll instantly go ahead and do, guys, create all new custom audiences, refresh it, create all new lookalikes, all new remarketing, and then relaunch it, right? And that's the absolute beauty of this is every single sale you get, you're getting more data, your pixels changing. So every time you refresh your customs, you're going to be getting like a different, more smart kind of pixel and campaign push, which has been proven to be so damn consistent over the last several years for Micro and Macro Big Bang that it's ridiculous. And it's one of my favorite things about this system, that it's literally renewable. Now, with that being said, what I mean by refresh, guys, is by just like when we have purchase, initiate, checkout, add to cart. When we created these guys, we created that so that I'm saying, hey, purchase from the last 180 days, which means that if I created purchase last 180 days today, that means if I get a purchase in 5 days from now, that campaign's not going to be using that new data that came in until I refresh that custom audience next time, which means that even as I'm getting more and more sales and it's getting smarter and smarter, it's still not optimal, because once you refresh, then it's optimal. And then it'll get more sales and refresh again, it's more optimal, right? And it's a repeating process, right? And for those of us who have been following BSF for quite some time, the reason that you see people getting results so consistently on a consistent basis is because of this system, right? It's because it's just exactly what it is. It's consistent, right? It's not just random guessing. It's like you actually have an effing system. The only way that I could bring people in here who aren't good at even like using a laptop and get them to actually do well is through a system. Think about how crazy that is, right? I could barely get people to like go on Safari who don't know how to use a computer, much less like run ads and do well. Okay, think about how crazy that is. That's because of this system.